Let's begin with these devastating Russian airstrikes that are hitting civilian areas in and around Ukraine. One attack in the southern part of the country hit a theater that was serving as a shelter for hundreds of people. I want to take you now to Lviv in western Ukraine. That's where Imtiaz Tyab is. Imtiaz, good morning. What are you seeing on the ground?
Vlad and Marie, good to talk to you. Well, the latest intelligence that we're getting from U.S. and British officials are saying that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has stalled, but that hasn't stopped Russia from inflicting horrific damage right across the country. A warning, the images in this report are quite distressing.
In this war of attrition, nothing is off limits. Not even this theater in Mariupol, said to be sheltering over 1,000 people, and clearly marked for bombers to see. That's the word children in Russian. It's now in ruins, and the loss of life still unclear. Russia denies bombing the building, blaming instead a Ukrainian neo-Nazi group for blowing it up, but offered no proof. At a nearby hospital, the scenes of utter carnage are painfully clear, as medics do whatever they can. But for the thousands that have died in Mariupol, including the smallest, just 22 days old, there's nothing left to do. These are the people we could not save, this brave doctor said. The city's collapse into chaos comes as Russian soldiers encircle it. Each airstrike and shelling, one a minute at times, are slowly squeezing the life out of the once thriving southern seaport. In the eastern city of Kharkiv, an inferno. Russian shelling hit this market, killing at least 3. This resident saw it all. I think there were several rockets or Grad missiles. Boom, 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 and then the fire broke out. It's a hell that has displaced millions of Ukrainians, including these children, all orphans. They were rescued less than a week ago from brutal violence in the country's war-torn east.
Kids with mental and physical disorders. Alarm.
Natalie is a social worker here. As we were talking, an air raid siren went off. He tells the older kids to run inside, while the youngest were carefully gathered up by their carers, who guided them down these stairs into a basement classroom and played games with them to try and soothe their fears. Nadia is one of the teachers. The children don't hear the sirens from here. They are hidden, she says. We are safe here. These orphans may be among Ukraine's most vulnerable, but they are deeply cared for. And still manage to smile and make new friends, even with such uncertain futures.
Now, I should say that the children that we met in that report are safe and they are being cared for. But we do know that, according to the UN, that every second a Ukrainian child is made a refugee. Every second. In fact, we also know that around 1.5 million children are now refugees, many passing through here in Lviv, onwards to Poland, to safety, but to an uncertain future. Anne-Marie.
Yeah, you know, Imtiaz, Vlad, the thing about children is, often you see them smiling and playing, but you don't know the damage that lies below the surface, and we may not find out for years, Yeah. But Imtiaz, let me ask you about where you are right now. You're in Lviv. What's the situation there on the ground? And your actual location right now, where are you?
Yeah, you might be wondering why I'm in this empty room. We've actually been given access to the National Museum in Lviv. This is a pretty special place. It's a place where centuries of Ukrainian heritage has been on display. And as you can see, it's empty. It looks almost as if it's been looted. All of the artwork, all of these priceless artifacts have been painstakingly taken down, wrapped up, and taken to a secret location. Those that run this museum are taking no chances. They've seen what happened they've seen what's happened to museums in Kharkiv, which have been badly devastated. They've seen cultural heritage in other parts of the country, places in Mariupol as well, which have been so badly devastated, and they don't want to see that happen here. So they've taken the extraordinary step of painstakingly removing 11 8,000 individual artifacts, again, wrapping them up and taking them to a secret place to protect them over fears that the horrors that we're seeing in so many other parts of this country will come here to Lviv, to the west of Ukraine, and cause untold damage.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to ask you, Imtiaz, is, so far Lviv has remained relatively untouched by Russian forces, but I know that you've been interviewing people who were just ordinary citizens who were learning, for example, how to fire Kalashnikovs.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Here we are 3 full weeks into this war, 22 days to be exact. And Ukrainians who were in places like Kyiv and Kharkiv, Kyiv, of course, the capital city, Kharkiv, the second largest city, many of them fled the fighting and came here to the west and found accommodation and thought, this is a place where I'm going to stay and be safe and hopefully, weather the storm of this war. But after seeing what they've seen throughout the rest of their country, they're saying, we got to join the fight. And so we talked to one woman. She was an IT worker. She'd never picked up, a weapon to use in any kind of active combat. And there she was learning how to use a Kalashnikov. And she said she doesn't want to have to ever use it. She doesn't want to have to ever fire it at somebody. But she said that she was willing to protect her country and to protect her countrymen as well. Anne-Marie.
So President Zelenskyy spoke to Congress yesterday. Today he spoke to the German parliament. I presume his message was similar. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was an extraordinary speech that he gave to the Bundestag in Berlin. It was a little bit different from what we heard yesterday when he addressed Congress in the U.S. And he was withering. He was critical of Germany in a way that we haven't heard him be critical of other countries. President Zelenskyy has been making these addresses to multiple parliaments, Canada, the UK as well. But he singled out Germany, I think, because Germany has a very complex relationship with Russia. It relies on Russia for most of its energy needs. In fact, they have a pipeline which they've just built. It's just been installed. It's worth $2 billion, and it was going to funnel a huge amount of energy, natural gas, from Russia into Germany. Now, that's obviously on ice because of the fighting, but it took a long time for the German leadership to get to the point where they are saying what Russia is doing in Ukraine is a red line and we can't go there. But that didn't stop President Zelenskyy from saying, and he evoked Ronald Reagan, where he said to the German parliament, tear down that wall. Now, the Berlin Wall doesn't exist anymore, of course, in the way that Ronald Reagan was talking about it, but he meant this metaphorical wall that he sees in Europe and indeed Ukraine. He says that these walls need to come down and that Ukraine and Europe need to be more enmeshed together, need to be closer together, but more importantly, need to stand in solidarity with each other. And that was the message that he brought to the German parliament.
All right, Imtiaz, thank you very much.